Hey, we're back. This is a Knit Sheep Studio. Happy New Year, everybody.
I don't like that name. You have to come up with something new for the new year.
Whatever. That's what we have right now. When you come up with it, let me know. How's everybody doing? As you see, we were just handling a little bit of admin right here in the podcast. I hope everybody passed the New Year safe and well. So far, so good for us in here.
I tell these people in December, January, I'm going to be in my hunker bunker and I don't want to hear a word about it.
She said
I'm
precisely
not
that.
leaving my house for the month of January till, there's just less sick people out there. So far, I had to break quarantine once to go help my elderly uncle order his groceries online. And I wore a mask and I was only in his house for 20 minutes. So that's where I am right now.
Yes.
But guess what? I didn't catch nothing. And you know what? I'm thinking about keeping masks because you know what? I just realized I don't have to get a cold and the flu every year.
Yeah, I've already decided.
I thought that was just like a part of life. That's just what you do. Every winter you catch the flu.
No.
Before you die, you see the ring, you know?
I said that. I said that last year. I was like, wait a minute. When I realized that I had not had a cold or the flu going on 2 years, I was like, oh.
Because I'm always contending with my allergies anyway. So
Yes.
to have like a cold or the flu on top of that, it's just miserable. So like, yeah, get used to seeing this much of my face.
I'm going to work on looking mysterious.
You know what? I'm going to do like a lot of like dramatic eyes. A lot of like Muslim women, they wear the hijabs, but they do like this beautiful eye makeup looks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to watch some of their videos on YouTube and get some of that.
Get some pointers.
That's all you're going to see.
Because, yeah, especially during cold and flu season, that's it.
Hunker bunker.
Okay.
That's what's been going on in here.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
But we did have a nice holiday, actually.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year. I tried truffles for the first time, black truffles. And I made a truffle rice, and it was actually quite
delicious.
good. Truffles are very rich, though. I would use less truffles next time. But it was really good. I was like,
Yeah. For Christmas morning breakfast, I had made a truffle frittata because we had this jar of truffles, right? And I was very conservative because I had never cooked with truffles before, so I didn't put nearly enough truffles in the frittata. And then she went to town with the rice. I found it delicious. I love the taste of truffles. So what I've been doing since then is when I have boiled eggs, I put a single slice of truffle on each piece, each half of my boiled egg.
You know what I did with the rice? I put the truffle oil in the water, and then I also minced truffles and stirred it into the rice. And I think you don't need to do both of those. What I would do is just put the truffle oil in the water, but then do a tiny little bit of minced truffles as a garnish for each plate of rice instead of stirring it into the whole pot, because it was a really like overwhelming flavor. It wasn't a bad flavor, but it was a lot. Like when it was cooking, you could smell.
I loved truffles. It. I was like, oh yeah. I smelled it when the truffle oil hit the water. I was like, oh, that smells great.
So, but we try to do a little treat each year for New Year's. So the year before it was caviar because I'd never had caviar before, and so last year it was truffles. I don't know what we're going to do this year, but I'll find something to get us into.
Absolutely. So, what you got, Cryss?
Huh?
Since you have something completely new, you got to go first.
Okay, let me tell y'all what happened. Because Lisa was finishing up her Alaska sweater. And, it's really cute. She had her happy little trees and everything. And then Mom came out with, like, this, like, fancy behind sweater that she made. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. So everybody's going to have, like, a new sweater for Christmas except for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I grabbed some worsted weight yarn. And I was like, we're going to make a sweater quick, fast, in a hurry. And then I mentioned in a previous video that if I finished my sweater by Christmas, it would have strings hanging from it. And it does have strings hanging from it. But I did finish a sweater that I'm like tentatively calling the Envy sweater because I was just jealous to death and had to make another sweater. But I did finish it on Christmas Day. And it's just a cute little V-neck sweater. And it was inspired by several sweaters I saw in stores where like one half was one color and the other half was another color. Mm-hmm. And I was really chickened out of doing that idea because I was like, oh, is it too much? But I did end up doing that color blocking, except I did bring a little bit of the yellow over on this side, but still had my dappled sleeves. And this is my first sweater that I've worked side to side. And I found that I really like doing side to side sweaters. It makes the seaming easier because you're working in the tops of the stitches and you're working down the sides. I did do center seams down the front and the back this time, just because I wasn't sure how much space I would need to leave for the neck hole opening. But now that I have like this sweater that I can measure from, I would just work straight across to do future side-by-side sweaters. But I have like these mustard colored pants that go really perfectly with this sweater. I had like a big mustard moment like a few years ago, and I kept buying a lot of mustard clothes. Thankfully, I still like mustard. It's not like I fell out of love with the color because I have a lot of this color in my wardrobe. But that means I have a lot of things that I can wear this sweater with. I have skirts, I have pants, I have dresses I can put it over. But this is Cumulus and Cumulus Dappled, so it's cotton. It's really comfortable to wear. It's a very cozy sweater. Yeah. And I like it very much. And it's all just single crochet. I didn't do anything fancy because I was trying to work quickly.
Yes. Yes, you was.
But this yarn, honestly, it doesn't need a lot.
No, it's beautiful.
I tried to do some textured stitches at first, and I was just like, it was kind of overwhelming because it's a chainette yarn. So the yarn itself already has some texture to it. So just doing single crochet works great. And I love seeing the single crochet stitches going vertically.
Yeah,
instead of horizontally.
It gave you texture anyway. I think you ended up doing like 3 swatches, trying out different texture patterns.
But I'm so happy with how it came out, and it's cute and it's comfy and it fits exactly the way I wanted it to. I think I'm going to do just a little bottom edging to finish off the bottom. But other than that, like technically, could I wear it today? Yes, I could. I just have to tuck all those strings in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so here's my envy sweater. See, sometimes envy's good. If it's productive envy.
Yes. Just because somebody did not want to be the only one who did not have a new sweater.
New sweater on Christmas. Oh my gosh, everyone else had one. I hate when things are just me. But yeah, so I finished my sweater and I'm incredibly happy with it.
Well, here is my finished object. Well, I'm going to say it's not finished, but it's finished. All the ends are woven in.
How many times do we have to say finished?
This is my Alaska sweater, and I absolutely love it. I worked it in Pixel and Ultra Wool DK. It's so comfy. Okay, every time I put it on, I don't want to take it off. It feels delicious, and I blocked it by running it through the washing machine and then running it through the dryer.
Mom was really dubious.
Yeah, Mom was like, you sure you're going to do that?
It worked out just fine.
Absolutely. It worked out just fine. I got a picture of me in it because I actually have it pinned. I'm going to tell you guys about that momentarily.
You look so happy.
I am. Like, look at my sweater. Because it had just come hot off the needle at this point, okay? I mean, hot off the needles. I had just finished the neck. I was like, I'm going to throw this on and take a picture right now. But I'm super happy with it. And I actually didn't finish it on Christmas. Well, by Christmas. I finished it by the second day of Kwanzaa, the 27th. What's that, Kwanzaa? It was still a holiday sweater. I missed the winter solstice. I miss Christmas.
You miss Hanukkah.
I miss Hanukkah. Oh yeah, Hanukkah. There was no hope for Hanukkah. But by the second day of Kwanzaa, I was up in there.
Oh my gosh, that should be a thing. We should do Kwanzaa sweaters.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
You had so much more time. So I actually adore the sleeve treatment. So what I did was, I know me. I am not that careful a counter all the time. So I did the sweater.
Especially when she's trying to read subtitles while she knits.
Yeah, Yangtze Palace got hot. I did the sleeves 2 at a time. So what I did was, when I got to the sleeves, I strung half of the sleeves for sleeve one, half of the stitches for sleeve one on my needles. Then I put all of the stitches for sleeve two on my needles, and then the other half of the stitches for sleeve one. So I'm knitting all the way around like this. So whenever I had to do a decrease row round, it happened on sleeve one, then it happened on sleeve two. And that way my sleeves are the same, like totally like the same. It's amazing. One's not just a row or two longer.
Unlike your blossom socks.
Unlike my blossom
which
socks.
are not all the same.
No. Not even a little bit. They're very similar though. And that's all you can ask for on a sock sometime. And there's a slightly modified chart for the sleeve. So it kind of plays as the same, but it's just smaller. And I really love it. I did not bother to do too much. I did a little bit of jacquard, a lot about jacquard on the sleeve, but I didn't need as much because there just weren't as many rows. There weren't as many stitches in between the treetops. But it all worked out. It still has a little bit of give to it, which is very lovely. Now, I used exactly one ball of the Ultra Wool DK for all of the color work. When I finished, I think I had 2 feet of yarn left. It was like, and I wanted yarn chicken. I was feeling myself that night, let me tell you. But I did have enough because, actually, no, I didn't have to do that. Oh, great. Thank goodness I didn't have to redo the neck.
I mean, nobody knows what is going to happen through your head. You want to share that with us?
I'm going to share.
Okay.
As you saw in the picture, my original neckline is kind of wide. And I knew it was wide when I was making it, but at that point, I was like feverishly knitting, trying to get this thing finished. So I went with it at first. But I didn't keep that neckline. I ended up cutting that off, picking up the stitches, and then redoing the neck.
Also
so
stressed mommy to know it.
Yeah, Mom was like, "You cutting that?" I was like, "Yep." I'm gonna cut a stitch like that. And I just weighed the leftover pixel. I started out with 4 skeins of pixel, and I picked up another skein just in case. And I'm kind of glad I did, because when you do 2 at a time, I do the method where you have to have 2 yarn sources. And I was a little concerned because this yarn stripes, and I wanted to have the sleeves kind of vaguely matching each other. So I got another skein of the yarn, and I was able to just have the sleeves be the same.
Interesting.
By just having another skein of yarn. So I ended up having 68 grams of yarn left over, which is a little bit over half of a full skein, because they're 100-gram skeins. But for washability, easy care, dryability, I can't beat it. I love this stuff. And the Ultra Wool too.
All right, tell me about the
So I did some modifications to the sweater, right? I made the sleeve a little bigger, and I shouldn't have made it as big as I did. I think 2 things happened to me. I think I miscalculated how much increase I need, and I didn't take into account the ease built into the sweater and the sleeve. So I made my sleeves entirely too big. As a matter of fact, you can see it here with this extra fabric. That's all the extra fabric I built into the sleeve, completely unnecessarily. So what I'm going to do about that, and I had Mom, I put the sweater on, and I had Mom pin out the excess fabric for me. So what I'm going to do is mattress stitch the extra fabric into kind of like a pleat inside, and just make it a fake seam right along here, along that raglan, on both sides of the sweater. That's why this is all pinned up like this, because I will be doing that this week. And as you can see, as I fold it down here, it just matches the lines very nicely. You look so dubious. Like
I am, but you know what? She's been right before, so we'll just see how this goes.
So it's all pinned. I ran out of those little stick pins, so I've been using my stitch holders. So that's all pinned up. Also, I ended up, like I said, fixing the neckline. So as you can see, it's a much closer neckline.
It looks better.
Oh gosh, it looks so much better. It was flipping up because the pattern said you only needed to do about 5 rows of ribbing on this thing. And 5 rows, when I did that 5 rows of ribbing, it just made for this hideous, bubbly, standy-uppy neckline.
Standy-uppy?
Yes, standy-uppy. So what I did was, I tried picking it out. It wouldn't unravel easily. So I cut off, I had 5 rows. I cut row 3. So I only had 2 rows left. And then I had picked up, I loved how I had picked up the stitches, right? Let me hold it close so you can see. I picked it up. It was nice and clean. I didn't want to do that over again because what you will learn about me is if I don't have to redo the same work, I'm mad happy. So I wanted to preserve the row where I picked up the stitches along the opening. So I cut off the top 3 rows of the ribbing, and then I was able to pull out what I needed. Wherever I needed to snip, I snipped it, and I preserved that row. So I put my needle back in as I went.
I'm glad I missed that whole thing.
Yeah, I don't think I would have been able to do it with you like going, oh my God, why are you doing that? Standing over my shoulder. That would have been terrible. So once I got it all loaded back up, I calculated out how to spread my decreases evenly around. And I looked at my gauge, which, thank you, Lordy, I made notes that I could retrieve about exactly what my gauge was. And I just calculated what width of neckline I wanted it to end up as. So once I knew how many stitches I wanted to get to, it was no big deal to go around and
now,
just
did you
do some
decrease
decreases.
Every row of the neckline, or
no? I decreased in the first row where I picked it up,
and then worked even. Okay.
And then I worked even the rest of the way, and it was just fine. No fuss, no muss, and I made it a few rows longer. So I think instead of doing just 5 rows, I ended up doing, let's say, 8 or 10 rows. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I ended up doing 8 rows, right? And that resolved that whole flipping over problem. Anyway, I'll be writing a blog post about this, the modification process afterwards, because I say if you don't have to rip the whole thing out, don't throw the whole thing out. Fix what's wrong.
As if you don't mind cutting your work. Mom's looking at a class for cutting crochet, and I might look at that too, because I don't think I'll actually do that, like cut my crochet, but I think I will take the class just so I can believe it's possible.
Yeah,
because right now I'm just like, you want me to do what?
I read a really good article about that.
I'd rather like rip out the whole thing.
No, I'd rather not. I'd rather cut out the section that's bad and then reknit and join it up.
I'd rather rip it all out after midnight and by 4 a.m. have a new sweater.
Oh Lord! See, knitting don't work that way. It's not that fast. So I'll go a long way before I rip out. What else we got?
Why do you say it like all like you think I'm up to something?
You usually are.
I'm not up to things. I'm just stitching. I'm just stitching, much like yourself. When we used to go to New York Comic Con, we used to get all the free tote bags. So I have it says Stay Bookish. And I think this was a website from one of the book publishers. So you'll see a lot of bookish totes because we have a bag in the attic. We call it the bag of bags.
The bag of bags.
It's got a bunch of tote bags in it. Okay, so I'm working on the fuzzy sweater. I have mentioned the fuzzy sweater a lot, but the short version is I bought a sweater at a store, put it in the dryer, and destroyed it. So now I'm going to make another sweater very similar to the one that I ruined. So I have another sweater in my closet that I have not destroyed, and I took measurements from that sweater. So I'm basically making a new sweater that's the same size and shape of the sweater that I still have, that I have not ruined yet.
You know what? Next time, let's take a picture of that sweater, and I can include.
I'm telling you the truth, I didn't want to show that sweater just in case mine doesn't come out right.
I
don't want people comparing like all the things that I did wrong.
Stop.
But we'll see. So I was wondering why I only have one skein of yarn, but I figured it out. Okay, so this is actually Angora lace held together with LRA Silky Kid Mohair, but I just ran out of the mohair, so this is what's left of that first ball of mohair, because it's a much smaller ball than the Angora lace.
Yeah, it's a 25-gram ball.
But I am really, really happy with it. So check out this texture. I got that from a Stitch dictionary that I have. And I'm finally learning how to say Stitch dictionary now that I have to say it so much. But I love the texture. It's a really, really simple stitch pattern. It's giving me star stitch vibes, but I hate star stitch. But it's very similar, and you're working over 3 stitches. So what I found that I had to do was, which I learned from my swatch.
Oh, la la.
The first row is a setup row of all single crochet, and it came out much, much wider than all of the subsequent rows, because once you start working in pattern, you're kind of cinching in a little bit. So normally with crochet, one of the things you might want to do is your first row, you want to work at a larger hook size and then size down for the rest of the garment. This was just the opposite. My first row I actually had to do at 3.5 millimeters, and then everything else I've been doing at 3.75. And so now, if you had seen my old swatch, you would have seen that this first row here, that's all single crochet, was just much wider, and it was splaying out in a way that was very unbecoming. I solved that problem. I wasn't sure like how much further down I would need to go, but going from 3.5 to 3.75 was just fine. I didn't need to, because I was thinking maybe I needed to go all the way down to 3.25, but turns out I didn't. But yeah, so now, as you can see, the sides are even. So this is going to be the back of the sweater. So I made a second swatch because I needed to practice changing the hook sizes. And my second swatch, that first row came out just fine. And so far, like, I use my swatch to decide how many stitches I would start with and everything. So far, my measurements are like right on the money. And that almost never happens. I don't know if I've been measuring my swatch wrong or what I'm doing wrong, but there's still a little bit of like finagling when I go from swatch to garment. This time, the number of stitches I said I needed gave me exactly the width that I wanted. So, and I tried something different with this one. Yeah. Now, I usually struggle with my row gauge, and I know that I kind of stitch short. I don't really pull up my stitches. Like if you see my double crochet and my mom's double crochet, hers is like almost twice the height of mine because she pulls up her stitches a lot. What I did when I measured for row gauge on my swatch, I did not include my setup row of all single crochet in the measurement because that setup row doesn't get repeated. So why should I count for doing that row multiple times if I'm not actually doing that row multiple times? That makes sense. And so far now, comparing my swatch to what I have here, so far, the numbers are much more accurate. So I just kicked out that first row of single crochet when I took my measurement, and my row gauge is much more accurate. Nice. So I'm very happy with that. And, I'm making it in pieces. I'm a little worried now that I might not have enough mohair. I think I do. But I have a contingency plan in case I run out of mohair. So I'm going to do, the 2 front pieces in the back and the sleeves. But my sleeves are going to have really long cuffs, like 6 or 7 inch cuffs. And the sweater is going to have, front edging around the neck and down the front. So what I will do if I need to is just the cuffs and the edging, no mohair. Yeah. Because they're going to be different stitch patterns anyway. So, I can just play around with the texture and just have those parts of the sweater actually not have the mohair in it. And that should save me enough yardage that if I run out of mohair, it won't really be an issue. But I do think I have enough mohair. I think, maybe. I don't know. We had like 1 ball left in inventory. I'm just going to take that. But there you go. 1 ball of this color. Right. You can have any other color. Yes. You want some green, you want some red, some pink, we got you. But don't look at this one. But yeah, so that was my only issue. I'm a little worried about the amount of mohair, but I think it'll be fine. Because it's also an exactly like waist length sweater. It's not going to be very long. So it shouldn't be a problem.
I find the mohair tends to go really far.
It's going to be V-neck also. So the front panels, aren't going to be the same width the whole way down. So I think there's enough in the design to save me some yardage. But I had no concerns about the Angora lace. I have plenty of this. So, but I'm really happy. I'm like really, really happy with it. I love this texture. I love it. I love it. I love it.
That is gorgeous.
And I'm just why I get excited every time I'm making a thing, because I just can't wait to wear it. I'm so looking forward to wearing a sweater that like looks like this.
It's been so cold. You're going to love wearing that thing.
It really, really has. So it's wool, it's Angora, it's mohair, it's silk, it's all the things that will help keep me warm. So I'm going to enjoy wearing the sweater very, very much when I leave the house again.
Yes, one day.
But this is my active whip.
So I was really, really trying to get my sweater done in time for the holidays, which I did. Kwanzaa. So I had just put down anything else I was working on and just devoted all my knitting time to my sweater. But I recently have gone back to my painting rainbow shawl, and I am so happy with this thing.
There's some progress. Look at that.
Yeah, I'm so happy with this thing. I don't even know what to do. And because of how the pattern is structured, I was able to make a chart so that, like, in the section I'm in now, I have to repeat 30 rows 16 times to get to the end of the shawl. So I made a chart, 1 to 30 on this side, and 1 to 16 along, is that the y-axis? The x-axis?
X-axis.
Along the x-axis. I know there's two of them. Y, X. And I put this thing down for, about 3 weeks? I think it was about 3 weeks I put this thing down for. But I was checking off my rows and my repeats as I went. So when I picked it back up again, I was able to look at my chart and know that I was in this row of that repeat. And the proof is in the pudding. I didn't have to rip back anything. Because sometimes you think you know, but you guess wrong.
Let me tell you, my fuzzy sweater, my first swatch, I put it down, and I don't remember what hook size I used. So I was going to have to do a second swatch anyway.
Yeah. You didn't put the knots in?
I did nothing.
Oh, okay.
So when I picked it up again, I was like, what are you? But second swatch I did, I wrote everything. Yeah. I have like a whole page of I have schematics. I have what hook size I use, where to find the stitch pattern. Because also I couldn't remember where I found the stitch pattern. So I had to go through 3 different stitch dictionaries to find it. But now I wrote down the page number, the name of the stitch pattern. Yes. Yeah, you want to have some notes.
Notes are super important. Okay? Super important. But I'm in the shrinking part of the shawl. And that's exactly why I started with the one that you start the longest edge, because I wanted the rows to shrink. So here's my decrease edge. And I love it. I'm working in Colorburst from Universal and Ultra Wool DK. Now, this pattern was actually written for fingering weight, but I wanted my shawl to come out bigger than the stated size. So I went up in the yarn. I'm still using the same exact number of stitches and all of that, but my yarn and needles are bigger, and I believe I am working on a US 8.
You're working on 2 US 8s?
Yes, I'm working on 2 US 8s. Believe it or not.
That's good.
This is a fixed needle. She's just pointing out that I sort of kind of set up my my needles wrong for my Alaska sweater, and I had one 4mm needle and one.
Yeah, 1 6mm and 1 US 6 or something like that.
Yeah, 1 US 4, 1
4mm.
Yeah. Oops. But since I swatched and everything that way, it all worked out.
You didn't find out till the sleeves.
No.
You made the whole sweater.
That's when, because I was able to take it out of the work bed. I had to bound off the bottom edge. I was like,
yikes. She handles these things so well, though. I would have just been like, I would have been tempted to make a whole new sweater.
Why?
I don't know.
It fit. I was like, oh, well, it's okay. The only thing I didn't do was change because, honest to goodness, when you're knitting, only the needle in your right hand is making the stitches. The needle in your left hand is holding stitches and feeding them to your right hand, or the opposite if you're left-handed. But I didn't know which one I was actually making stitches with exactly, because my stitches would be slightly larger with one and slightly smaller with the other. So I picked a winner and I made my sleeves.
It all turned out well, though.
It did.
She has a cute sweater
That's
to show
adorable.
for it.
I love this sweater. Okay.
It's so Lisa, and I love it.
It's adorable, but that's how it is. So this yarn is a self-striping yarn, and it comes in a big old beehive like this. These are 200-gram beehives. Now, I thought one would do the trick, but as I worked, I started to notice, hey, you might be running out of this yarn. So I got another one for me, and the ultra wool, I'm still actually in the first ball of ultra wool, so that's gonna go. And I forget how many yards is in ultra wool DK, but you get pretty decent yardage in it. It's 292 yards, so I haven't gotten through the first 292 yards, but I'm coming to the end of that first ball. But I'm in love, and now that my shawl is shrinking, you're starting to see that rather than having multiple colors in each cell, it's getting to be more and more a single color in each cell. And that was exactly the effect I wanted. So it's going to go from striping, and as it gets smaller and smaller, I'll have fewer colors in each cell. Love it. That's all I can say. I absolutely adore it. And I'm going to look at this way. I've already been doing this, imagining myself wearing it. Oh. And I'm like, yes. And it's going to be a triangular shawl. But if you want to try out a Stephen West pattern, not too much drama.
Yeah, this seems way less complicated than like his mystery knit-alongs. Those are like wild.
Yeah, those are like very much, stunt knitting. You're like, you got to be ready to like stunt out with those needles. But this is actually very, very, very regular. Mm-hmm. And once you've gotten the gist of the honeycomb pattern, it's the same every row,
and it's easy to see if you've made a mistake too.
Yeah, it tells you immediately. Now the only thing I'm gonna say now, and this could just be me, okay, I'm not gonna say necessarily it's a flaw in the pattern. When I decrease my rows, I'm counting my stitches, right? Usually I'm either one up or one down, but just like, since it's only one stitch, I either create one or make one sleep with the fishes.
Okay.
Now, if it's more than one stitch, now actually I do go back and count. Because sometimes, a couple of times I was off by one stitch because I didn't have enough stitches within each cell. Because the same number of stitches within each cell. So if you go up one in one cell or go down one in one cell, you'll have too many or too few left on the end. So check that first. But if you count all your cells and everything is copacetic, feel free to let your inner mob boss shine through.
Just fudge-a-rama.
Make one disappear, because it works just fine. It does. It works absolutely just fine. Oh, and you're carrying the colors up along the edge. And as usual with Stephen West, you have an I-cord edge, so everything kind of gets hidden, and you have a very neat finish. Now, you see this one string right here?
I don't know about that.
What happened was,
Zoinks.
I got turned around one time, and I went in the wrong direction, and I didn't have my white yarn where I needed it to be.
How did you go in the wrong direction?
I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. It was just a straight up lapse in attention, because when I got back, and I was like,
that's why I can't do knitting.
So,
that's a thing that can even happen. I'm just like, wait, what?
Well, I don't know if it went in the wrong direction is the right word, but I didn't bring the yarn where it needed to be. That's just a fact. Oh, I remember what happened. Okay, I'm going to show you. Crystal doesn't know about this, so she's
Why
going
do
to
you
find
always
out now.
surprise me with things on camera?
I forgot all about this. You see what happened here? In the cells, I'm supposed to have 3 rows in the border. This one I messed up and I only have 2, and I left it. That's why the white yarn didn't end up on the right side. You're going to catch a fly. But it's not.
If I was making this, it would drive me nuts. But right now, with her making it, I think it's still going to drive me nuts. Oh, Lisa. But how did you? But once the yarn was on the wrong side, didn't you think, oh, I need to go back the other way?
You know what? I didn't notice it until I didn't notice it for a while. And I was like, well, why isn't it on the right side? When I really, really looked, I was like, oh.
It's Wild West knitting here, and I can't handle it. So, I can't handle it.
I didn't want to rip it out. So I just cut the yarn. And I took it over to the other side where I needed it to be. And I have been very good ever since then. Oh, all the rest of them have 3.
Why didn't you tell me these things on camera, Lisa? I can't. I need time to like adjust and accept the things I cannot change.
I did not want to surprise you, but I forgot about it till just now.
Oh my God.
Seeing the string hanging there reminded me. I was like, oh, let me tell them about this. So even if you have a little error like that,
rip it out and fix it.
Can you see it? I know I can't see it.
But you know
I have to go back
there,
and look. I don't care.
And now I know it's there.
Oh, you might have an issue, but I don't care. So it's a very forgiving pattern. If you do something like that because, you know, things got hot in the palace, just cut the yarn, go the other side, and keep it on. Keep on keeping on. You'll be fine. Sorry.
Do you do these things just to drive me
insane? No, I really don't. I remember I forgot about it until I saw that.
How could you forget, Lisa? I'd be up nights.
It'll be fine.
And like I would try to go on, and then like after I did another 10 rows, I'd be like, again, and I have to rip everything out. Oh no. Okay.
I only rip out things that will affect the function of the item, or if in this case, where I did rip out was when I missed one of the in-between fences, and it threw off my entire pattern. So I ripped back for that.
Although he had thought about not ripping out.
No, it was too crazy. And the beauty of this is that regular pattern. All right, take a breath.
I know, I need some water.
Oh my God. It's gonna be okay. I swear you'll be fine.
Okay. So that happened.
Painting honeycombs. It's delightful. You okay now?
I'm gonna try to be.
All right. You know what? Tell us about something. It'll be fun.
Okay, so Lisa, I know you're distracted now. That's all I can think about. I'm just like that one row. It's just like now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it. I said I was gonna try to sew.
Ooh.
I'm sorry.
You want me to go with my next thing? Give you a minute?
No. Do you really just leave it like that?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So I'm sewing, or I'm gonna try to sew. I think I'm gonna sew. I done bought some fabric, so I guess I should sew it now, right? So I decided I was gonna make. What I did was decided what I wanted to make first. Like I kind of pictured an outfit in my head, and then I bought some patterns that were similar enough to what I was picturing that I think I can, get something close to what I had wanted. I do want to work from a pattern. I don't want to try like sewing without a pattern or having to make a pattern or something because I don't know what I'm doing. I probably wouldn't be doing this at all if I didn't have Mom, because Mom, she knows. And so the first thing she did was when I told her what fabric I got, she sent me a video on working with this fabric, and I watched the video and I was just like, okay, this is good information because I knew none of this. But so here's what I'm making. I bought some McCall's patterns. I got them from Joann, ordered them online because I ain't going to no stores. So this lets you make either a pencil skirt or an A-line, I'm going to be making the pencil skirt. And then I will be pairing the pencil skirt with one of these cute little tops. You can make the top in 2 different lengths, or you can make it short sleeve or long sleeve. I will be making the short sleeve version, but I don't know which length I'm making yet. So if you can kind of like picture those together, what's this one? Okay, so the pencil skirt with this cute little top. This is what I will be making, I think. But the fabric that I bought is really cute. I'm very happy with it. It's this pink stretchy jersey knit. It's really stretchy. The wrong side of the fabric is actually really soft, so I think it's going to be incredibly comfortable to wear.
Nice.
And it's going to have that stretch in it. So I think it's going to be a really comfy, cozy outfit. It'll be perfect for spring. I don't know if you can see, but the fabric is heathered, so it's like a pink and white together.
Oh, nice.
And I'm really happy with it. However, you know, it's a stretch fabric, and that probably wasn't my best call to make something with a stretch fabric for my first project. However, what I'm telling myself is if I'm able to do this, I will have like learned a lot, right?
Right.
So my mom sent me a video that was specifically on working with stretchy knit fabrics, and it had some really good tips, everything from what kind of thread to work with to how to cut it out without pinning it. So I'll be using pattern weights.
Quick question, you know the name of the video?
No.
Oh, okay.
We can put a link to it.
We'll put a link to it.
Yeah. But when I watched it, I was a little like overwhelmed because I hadn't thought about any of those things.
It sounds like it's going to save you a ton of time.
Felt like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
Like thinking I could just go ahead and like jump in and stuff. I mean, still waiting for my thread to arrive. My thread is taking forever to come, so I can't sew anything yet. But because one would think you'd order thread when you order fabric, but this is me we're talking about. I mean, I was ordering at like 2 a.m. So
yeah. These things happen.
But I'm also making a little modification to the skirt that is not in the pattern. Mm-hmm. And I have another video for that because I want to do, if you've seen the skirts that have the drawstring ruching up the side.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to do something like that because I feel like that's a really sporty look and I think it's super cute. So I feel like I tend to wear skirts and sneakers a lot, which people think is weird. I don't think it is. But I feel like making it look a little bit more sporty, leisure would be really cute. So when I'm rocking it with my sneakers, it'll just like flow. So I found a video the video I found is, you know, making one of those kinds of skirts from scratch. So I haven't watched it yet, but I'm hoping that I can use that to, I'm not sure how I will have to adapt to the pattern because the pattern is, you know, the pattern pieces are certain sizes and I might need a little bit more fabric at the sides to account. It
depends. It depends. You may not need to add any fabric on the side. You might just be putting a strip of fabric inside and making a channel.
I have no idea. So I'm gonna watch that video too. And hopefully between me and my mom and YouTube,
all will be
I
well.
can actually make a skirt. We'll see how this goes. Right now, I'm going back and forth between being like, yeah, I can do this to like, what have I done? I also bought pretty much twice the amount of fabric I need because I figured I wanted to have enough fabric to make the whole outfit twice in case I just screwed up. You know, that first pancake? Yeah. So I wanted to be able to make the first pancake and then make the second one as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, you got to have enough flour for all of that. So I have a lot of fabric here.
I noticed that. I was like, ooh, that's a lot.
But I got it 50% off, so I was very happy. And then the week after I bought it, it went to 60% off, and I could have saved like $10, but that's okay. It's okay. It's not okay. Oh. But it's fine. I have my fabric now. I have my patterns. Hopefully soon I will have thread. And I will be letting you all know how this goes because I haven't sewn since I was maybe 13. I mean, like sat in front of a sewing, had touched a sewing machine, been in a room while a sewing machine was running. since I was 13 years old. I did make a very cute skirt when I was 13.
Mm-hmm.
It had a zipper and everything. But I feel like I might as well have never sewn. I've forgotten absolutely everything I knew. So
I believe in you.
But again, I have that joie de faire, the joy of making. I feel like I'm so excited to possibly wear this outfit. That's really all that's keeping me motivated. I believe. I really like my fabric though.
It's gorgeous.
It's like super
This is actually my first time seeing it.
Yeah, so we'll see. So I may be sewing too. You know what? Whether or not I sew again will depend entirely on how this outfit
I know
goes.
it does. I know
So
that's
we'll
right.
We'll see. But yeah, that's what's going on with me with making.
Well, I have one more thing.
I'm just gonna sit here and hug my fabric.
That's perfectly fine. I wanted to have sort of like a long-term project that I could work on during sit and stitch, because so far the stuff I'm really working on, there's no like long stretches where I don't have to count anything. When I'm working on the Stephen West piece, it's like
it's very counting.
I'm counting the whole time, but continuing to count makes everything come out right. So I'm going to continue on counting. So, and I wanted to use.
But you can't use like stitch markers and put them like.
No, because I would have to move them every section because it keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Oh, okay.
So I just got to count it out.
Okay.
I wanted to have something that was mainly garter stitch that I wouldn't have to concentrate on too hard, because when I'm running sit and stitch, I'm doing stuff. I'm busy. I'm the hostess. So I decided to do a temperature blanket. What happened was this Tony Lipsy video came up in my feed, right? And I watched video, and it was about.
And you got incepted.
I did. It was all about temperature blankets, and I was like, I was always curious about them. And she was talking about how to go set up your temperature blanket. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I will do a blanket, and I'll make it a all garter stitch blanket. But I bore easily, so I couldn't just cast on 75 or 100 stitches and just knit back and forth for a year. Because that's how long you do a temperature blanket.
Oh, I would never do a temperature blanket.
This is just something to do in the background, though. And like I said, I want to have something where I can do it.
Once I never finished it.
Well, that's why I chose this blanket. This, my dear, is the 10-stitch blanket. Notice I'm doing it on double points, because you never have more than 10 stitches on your needle at any given time. So my blanket started here, and I worked out, turned. I'm going to continue to make those turns. And I made a chart of the temperatures I'm going to track. Here it is. I'm like, do I not have my chart? And I wanted to do all yarn from my stash, adding nothing new, so I could work through some of the old stuff I have in my stash. So I made a temperature gauge, and if you go to the Tapestry Project or Tony Lipsy's website, she has great suggestions for crocheted ones. The Tapestry Project has all the charts for getting your temperatures together, and I just picked yarn from my stash. I wanted something that would alternate between a dark color and a light color. And I set it up, and all I do is I check the temperature each day. And
so do you do the highest temperature each day, or?
Yeah, I do the high.
Okay.
But you can do whatever you like. Some people do the low temperature each day. Some people do the median temperature. I don't want to make it so complicated. Any weather app tells you the high and the low for the day, so I picked the high. And that was that.
I don't think I could keep my attention on one project for a whole year.
That's a nice thing, though. Because it's just these 10 stitches. You do 10 stitches And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 garter stitch ridges, and that represents one day. It's not a big deal. It's just not a to do at all. And I'm choosing I chose the join where everything stays flat. There's another join where you get a chain on both sides. But I just wanted it to be a nice flat blankie.
So will this have a definite right side and wrong side, or will it be reversible?
Nah. I think it's gonna have a definite right side and wrong side because of the way I'm doing the joins.
You have these stitches here, but on this one you got like the white stitches on both sides.
Yeah, I changed the way I was handling the tail because I'm cutting the yarn.
Okay.
And I decided I'm not gonna do that anymore. I don't like it.
Okay.
Okay, so on the back here you can see instead of weaving in my ends, I did the weave and Steven, and it just doesn't work for this particular pattern.
I'm sorry, what now?
I did the weave and Steven. It's a way where you take the tail of your yarn and you wrap it around the working yarn. Then you knit. You wrap it around the working yarn, you knit. You do that for a few stitches. That's what Stephen Westcall is.
You
the weave and Steven.
are so cute. I can't even.
But I like it better how it looks when I just weave the tail in. So from now on, I'll just be snipping and weaving. And what I started doing was weaving in as I went. That's why I don't really have any tails now, because I'm weaving in as I go.
Yeah, because that's
because who wants a blanket full of ends?
Because by the end of the year, it would just have ends. I would never like weave them in.
I would tie them in little bows and then make it a design element. And then you see the little bows. But so far, I am so happy with how it feels. I've never had a woolen blanket before. So just about all of my yarns are wool or wool blends. And I'm just really jiggy with it. Really happy.
No blankets for me.
So this is just going to be something that I have.
Although,
for when
I'm sewing.
Dun, dun, dun,
Maybe
dun.
I could get into the whole quilting thing. I don't know.
Uh-oh.
We'll see.
That's a whole
You know what
other
though?
rabbit hole.
I feel like I want to make quilted clothing. I've seen people do some stuff in it.
You know what? Study Korean traditional clothing. A lot of it is quilted because it's cold as heck in Korea.
I feel like that's a thing I could get into more so than just making blankets.
Oh yeah. And there's a whole thing with quilt. You use a sweatshirt as the base for the jacket, and you do quilting on top of that. I've seen beautiful ones. I can show you some blog posts.
Lisa, don't be putting ideas in my head. See, like one of us gets an idea and like, oh, you know what I could do? And then see the next one says, yeah, you could totally do that. We don't have anyone who like tempers these impulses in our household. So sometimes we stay up all night making lace ornaments for the Christmas tree.
Oh, that's the other thing. I was thinking for next year. For this year, I'd like to make an ornament or two each month.
Good luck with that.
A knitted Christmas tree.
I'm not signing on for that at all. And I just want you
to maybe
think about how big our tree is. So our sister in New York did a very clever thing. Because she had a big old tree. And last year she bought a little skinny, she called it her Charlie Brown Christmas tree. Yeah. But she bought a little skinny pre-lit tree, and that's all she did for Christmas because I didn't want to drag my giant tree. You know what? If we hadn't moved out of the store, I didn't want to move anything else heavy, so I couldn't get the tree out the attic, and it was a whole thing. Yeah. So I think I might also buy a skinny alternative tree, and just depending how I'm feeling by the end of November each year, we'll see which tree comes out. So I'd like a skinny tree. I feel like yes, you could do that, but the big tree.
Well, in the case of the big tree, it wouldn't be all knitted ornaments.
They would just be accent ornaments.
They would be accents.
Yeah. Okay, so use bright colors.
Mm-hmm.
So they stand out because I am not committing to making Christmas ornaments. We did that one time and it seemed perfectly reasonable then.
Yeah, and it wasn't reasonable when we did it.
What had happened was it Women's Day or the other one? At one of the magazines, one of like the Home and Life
Women's
magazines
Day or
Family Circle had an article about people who did a handmade tree with lace. They made all their ornaments out of lace. Yes. And for some reason we all got enamored of this idea. And literally the whole family, we stayed up till sun up making ornaments for the tree, and they got more and more elaborate.
Of
so
course.
There was ribbons and little metal decorative things. We were putting photos on them. The hot glue came out, and we spent the whole night making ornaments.
Where
for
did
our
we
Christmas
even
tree.
get the lace? Did we? I feel like
Heavens
we
to
didn't even,
Murgatroyd. I don't know.
I don't
because
feel like we went to the store.
I don't
or
think so
anything.
either.
We were able to just pull that stuff out of closets and whatnot. It was crazy. It was
I don't
absolutely
think we went
crazy.
shopping for the lace either.
No.
I don't know. We had lace, we had ribbon, we had popsicle sticks. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm thinking about it, but I don't remember any runs to the store.
But just know that in our household, there's no one on the brakes.
That's right. We're all like,
There's
let's go.
no brakeman. So you see what she just did? Oh, like you could do this thing with a sweatshirt. And now here we go. So this is going to be an interesting year.
It is. Absolutely. And that's the news from the Hunker Bunker.
Oh, just be Hunker Bunker TV.
Oh yeah, Hunker Bunker TV. If you want to like work along with us, hey.
Okay, I think that's plenty of foolishness for one episode.
I think so too.
We will see you all later.
If you made it this
and our
far,
mother would really like it if you liked and subscribed.
Yes. Thank you very much. We'd appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye-bye.